Hey everyone, welcome. So we have Portrait XO here, Thomas and Ivy, and they're going to give you a session on hybrid art and metaverse of things. We can take questions as we go. Just put them in the chat, and if you have any questions, they'll answer them towards the end. I'll let you guys take the stage. Thanks.
Oh, hi everyone. Thanks for joining, and thank you to Zora for having us. So I am Portrait XO. I do a lot of hybridized art with human-machine co-creation, and as an independent researcher, I work a lot with data scientists, and so I wanted to put this workshop together that will give a little insight of what it's been for me as an artist to work with machine learning, as well as have perspectives from Thomas Haferlach, who is founder of Pollination Ai, who's a data scientist and a new media artist. And then a little glimpse into our future from our Gen Z prodigy, Ivy, who is also studying computer science and transdisciplinary research. So I'll just get started with our first slide. So Pollination.ai is an open source platform that Thomas, I'll let you do a brief introduction.
Yes. Yeah. First of all, thank you that we're already talking about Pollination.ai on the first slide. I'm very happy to get this introduction. Yeah, Pollination.ai was a project that me and a few colleagues created initially more as a tool for ourselves, because we were very fascinated with the developments around generative deep learning. So deep learning that's focused on generating media. The first kind of application where these models have become very good is generating images. And I was so fascinated with the explosive kind of development we had in the last, say, 2 years in terms of like creative possibilities, image quality, and also types of media and types of ways we can process media. I was so fascinated that I wanted to make this also available to friends and artists around me who I know and who were really keen to experiment with these techniques. And so it was kind of more of a platform to make it more accessible initially, and now we are turning it into an open source based business with some funding, and but yeah, the idea is to really work closely with the open source community and make it easy for people to experiment with these new ways of, let's say, generating and manipulating all kinds of media.
Yeah, join us on Discord, on Pollination Discord. We have a lot of really fun and meaningful conversations about how we can sustain and work with Web3 technologies to create these kind of like new ways of, I guess, co-creating and doing things on chain with like smart contracts and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll just show some examples. Ooh, here we go. Of some of the latest experiments. So this is from the new Zora trailer that just went out, and Thomas introduced me to this disco diffusion warp model, which was my first stab at it. And what's really interesting to me is like what you see is the same text prompt, taking one video of a talking head, but in like different sizes. And it's just this kind of stuff just fascinates me because you get like such different results. So it ends up leading me to way more questions of like, why does this behave the way it does? So Ivy created some other custom AI visuals, and we just submitted all this stuff that we created together. And then Sir Jugi then took the content and then did some like really cool analog effects to it. So that is also available on Pollinations. And to the right, that is a disco diffusion as well. And then to the left is a text to image VQGAN clip approach that I've used mainly for a lot of my experiments in the last couple of years. And one of my most like I guess, obsessive way of working is obsessed way of working with all of this has been like trying one AI model and then taking the result and then feeding it into another one. And so what's been really fun is I discovered Pollinations.ai from Thomas just after I finished creating this neural vocal duet AI album in collaboration with DataBots. And so then I started doing some experiments with taking that music and seeing what kind of visuals I could create. And so this is loop sonetry, which allows you to do things like control the parameters of your treble, your mid, and your low frequencies, and set these very granular ways of how the visuals move in latent space. So it just gives you even more control. And so this was using a few different parameters with the wildlife data set. And then I decided to experiment with taking that visual into text to image VQGAN because I wanted to customize it a bit more to aesthetics that I was imagining at the time. And I've been doing, like, I'm always doing these deep dive research of like related to identity and stuff. So this is what, I'll just turn up the volume. Text to image VQGAN clip. I think the text prompt was hyperspace Mongolia melting gold and holograms, because people always think I'm from Mongolia, but I'm not. But well, I've learned that apparently, like, so my background's South Korean, and apparently there was like a lot of Mongolians that migrated to Korea at some point. So I was really pleased with the results. Also, to play with what happens when you take like a square format of a video and then try different formats and aspect ratio as the output, I thought was really beautiful. And there's also a super resolution model on Pollinations.ai, so you can upscale your videos. So this was really cool. And I've performed live with these visuals because I managed to get it up to 4K. So the next project that I think is really exciting to talk about is how artists can use art as data for creating even more customized AI art. And Thomas, I'll let you explain more detail of what Rubies and Diamonds project was about.
Yes. So yes, kind of what I find exciting is like not necessarily the idea of AI replacing artists. I mean, there's a lot of quite heated debate at the moment about what the impact of, let's say, DALL-E 2 is on certain types of art. But I've always been quite happy with the idea of like the collaboration between AI and human, and I find that one of the most exciting kind of ways of working in this space. So I was in an artist residency in the Dominican Republic, and got together with a contemporary artist, Nicola Rubinstein from Berlin, and she paints in a certain style, and she was also making videos. So we were filming the eyes of different participants, and her idea or dream, or our dream, was that we could apply her painting style to these videos that she filmed. And yeah, we used different techniques to reach this result. So, but she was very happy because she really felt like that the machine learning models managed to capture her aesthetics in a very interesting way, and then allowed her to do something that it would be impossible for her to do without, or it would be a very lot of labor, a very labor intensive process to paint all of these video frames. So it was kind of a very interesting mix, and it was also interesting to see how excited Nicola was to collaborate with the machine in such a way, and we're planning to do many other projects together in the future. And yeah, the idea then is somehow you could also create presets together with artists that can then generate series of media that could be used in all kinds of ways, or and possibly even monetized through NFTs or through some other ways where one would also share profits and so on. Yes.
So cool. It's a really beautiful project. So last but not least, I am going to pass it over to Ivy, who is the youngest AI artist and researcher that I know of. Ivy has a scholarship to Tufts University starting soon. He's spending some time with us here in Berlin for a while. And yeah, I'll let you talk about your latest experiments with 2D to 3D, or I think it's just so amazing, like how fast you work with everything.
Yeah, I mean, introducing to this technique, coming from the pollinations and seeing pollinations is very exciting for me, but it's also a project that is trying to implement user-friendly interface for working with the AI models, and there is it takes some time to implement every single models, but in the world of machine learning, you get new networks like almost every week. And it's interesting to experiment with like latest technology there is. So this is a clip-guided neural radiance field model, which is quite new. And it's not yet implemented anywhere. So there is, if you want to research it, you have to follow GitHub and follow the instruction to install it. But it's also interesting just to work with the networks which are not implemented. So if you want to try something new, try to find networks which just brand new and which you might be able to somehow use in your project and so on. And I started working with the 3D AI stuff almost 2 years ago, and at that moment the field was quite empty. There were not a lot of models which were capable of working with the 3D data, because it's very it's not Euclidean data, so it's very hard to work with it. And recently, and it's very exciting for me to see that just 2 years in it, and we already get these awesome results which are capable of producing 3D models from images from text. And this is the model which is called Dreamfields by Google. It was originally developed by Google, and it's capable of creating 3D models based on text or image data. And it's quite easy to use it, but it's very exciting. And for example, this is the video of a spaceship. So it created a 3D model from the text spaceship, and it has like its certain style. It's not like photorealistic and it's not realistic, but it's still exciting to see and work with it. And this is just the user interface for the network itself. And this is an image of a text input. And if you go further, and this model is also capable of working with the images, and it's capable of transforming image data to 3D models. And for example, I took an image generated by Midjourney, which was like a neural flower, I guess. If I remember correctly, the text prompt was neural flower. And then I put it into this model, and it produced this 3D model. But working with the 3D data, you can always modify it in different 3D software, 3D modeling software. So for example, it generated this flower, which I found very interesting because it doesn't look the same as the image. It has certain features, same as image, but it's not 100% same as image. And I liked it because it created something new. It added its own features to the 3D model. And then I modified it in a Blender to look better. I cleaned it, I modified it. So there is also like, it still requires some some artistic input from you. And then you can use those 3D models like almost anywhere. You can generate some kind of worlds with them. You can use them. You can 3D print them. You can really do anything you can with like just normal 3D models. And it also generates the texture. So it's also exciting. It generates the shape as well as texture. And on that note, I think it's everything from my side.
This is so cool. I want all of these in my metaverses and my 3D worlds.
I want you to show me how you made these last ones.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Really nice.
But yeah, that's our Flash presentation. Wow, we finished right on time. We thought we'd leave 10 minutes for Q&A, and we're happy to go deeper into the Flash presentation that we've just presented. These are our handles on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to tweet to us or message us on Instagram directly, because maybe you come up with questions after this, or we don't get around to answering questions. But yeah, that is us for now. Are there any questions from anyone? Oh, I have something that says talking, but I don't know if I see anything. Let me open. Okay.
There's no questions in the chat, but if you have any questions now, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot. This is a lot of content to go through in a short span of 30 minutes. But what is really exciting to me is that we have all of these tools available, and in the context of what Web3, Pollinations have been experimenting with like hybrid models, right? With using things like IPFS for data storage.
Yeah.
And also having conversations like, what is the most streamlined way of doing this kind of stuff, being aware of how computationally heavy it is, how much time it takes to do all of these things. And so I think it becomes really meaningful when artists become part of this dialogue of where we're going with all of this, and get creative with like potential problem solving. Thank you. I see a message from Pierre. Thank you, Pierre. So yeah, at the moment, Pollinations works connected to Google Colab.
Yeah, we're in a hybrid state at the moment. We have our own GPUs running in our back end since a little while, and we're kind of slowly migrating the models that previously were relying on Google Colab, which is a service which allows you to use GPUs for free in the cloud. Probably people who are in the field know about it, but it's what we did with Pollinations initially was kind of bootstrap, because we didn't have money, which was initially we didn't have money, so we didn't have any way to pay these GPUs, so we kind of connected to Google Colab, which made it a little bit more difficult to use, but was kind of an interesting way to start our project. And now, yeah, we're slowly making it more user-friendly by migrating these models now onto our own GPU backend, and we're planning also to keep it free as long as we can for end users. So it's going to kind of, I think, if you start using Pollinations in the next few days, it's going to be quite a nice user experience. Maybe we're still ironing out some bugs, but yeah, we have our own backend, so it will allow you to kind of for free use all of these techniques without too much difficulty, hopefully. And you also have kind of bots in our Discord or on Twitter, so you can also kind of talk to a bot like Midjourney, for example, also is doing in a very interesting way. So we're experimenting also with different ways you can kind of talk to these models, and the bots have also been quite an interesting direction to take. But you still have also our website, pollinations.ai, where you can create, and it's going to get easier to use hopefully still just as interesting.
Yeah, people can get an image generated based on their Twitter profile information, right?
Yes,
is that still live?
That's going. If you follow Pollinations AI on Twitter, you will get a response with a portrait drawn based on your Twitter bio. Yeah, so these are some of the fun we're having with the AI models, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. We have one new idea each day, like a daily generative tarot card generator, or your horoscope, or games which involve generating images and guessing what's on the images. Yeah. Like now kind of these models are usable in this like kind of modular way, where maybe you can kind of, let's say, feed the input of a text generation model into a model that generates images. I think it's only going to start, we're only going to start kind of having all these fun ideas and kind of applications. This is just kind of a first step in that direction, generating people's portraits without them even saying I want it.
Yeah. No, it's really exciting, interesting times with creative AI, I think. And Ivy's going to come out with a whole series of these new 2D to 3D experiments, some of our own collaborations as well that we've been working on. And I don't know, it's just a really exciting space to be involved in. And I love the idea of having AI become more democratized, so that there is like a real diverse narrative around like what it means to work with these technologies. And I don't know, art to me is like any chance we can abstract something out into some kind of like experience or something tactile gives us something tangible to either look at, feel, or experience, and then and we can have some kind of like an understanding of how all of this works, addressing things like bias and it's up to artists to create with these things and talk about these narratives in interesting and immersive and meaningful ways. So yeah, thank you for making this all happen. And I'd love to, I always get really excited when, I don't know, people like show some new weird experiment that they've done. And we've had a lot of like really fun what the fuck moments during our like co-creative process of just, I don't know, I think like artists are really good at accidentally breaking stuff.
Yeah.
And you've pointed that out also, where like I've accidentally broken stuff like totally unintended.
Yeah.
But then that's because probably me not being a programmer, and how I find it so valuable to have these conversations with data scientists, programmers, artists like yourselves. And it's this combination of different perspectives coming together that really excite me. And so, yeah, if any of you ever have questions or want to get involved or collaborate or anything like that, we're all pretty open.
Yeah. Also, yeah, in this Discord is a very easy way to talk, to get in touch personally. Like it's always a real pleasure to have an exchange with people, enthusiasts also in the field. I mean, I just wanted to, I think the thing with the errors is really nice, because I think that's what makes them artistically also so interesting, is that the kind of failure states are still interesting, you know, like when you have an MP3 that's kind of broken, it's the errors sound quite annoying, you know, they're very digital, whereas when the AI fails, it fails in kind of funny, organic ways.
Yeah,
just, you know, I think that makes it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
We have a nice comment in the chat from hash Haron. But yes, I'm also I'm just equally excited about the custom AI methods and approaches that artists can harness by doing things like that, like what you did with rubies and diamonds. It's just an example. And I've been sharing that project with all of my visual artist friends. because I think that process also of like seeing the machine take your own data, your own artistic work, and try to create something new with it, that creates a really interesting relationship, I think, with your own work. And I think it opens up a way for artists to become even more intimate with your own process and your practice. So yeah, I'd love to see more of that. So you're going to get pinged by a ton of artists now who are going to want to have
that's exactly what I'm open for. Yes. Yeah, and we also, thanks to a little bit of help and pointers from Ivy, we will also, and we of course we've been also kind of researching 3D model generation, so 3D object generation. So we want to also integrate these models that Ivy has been working on, and we've also been kind of researching. So maybe we will, if you will be able to generate 3D objects or avatars. There's been quite a lot of development in terms of avatar generation from text. So you can describe, like, I want a forest witch who's overweight and maybe has freckles, and you can write it all in text. And these models are doing quite a good job at generating avatars that can already also be embedded into games and imported into Unity, because they come in this rigged format. But this is like one of the models does it. And yeah, so this is something where we see kind of a little bit also a big future in the terms of generating 3D objects, and then also thinking about the metaverse and generating possibly whole immersive environments. And it looks like a goal that's very reachable, and possibly also democratizes the access people have to creating their own content in the metaverse, because 3D modeling is not such an easy to acquire skill. Yes, so this is I see a lot of future there, and we're kind of also focusing a big part of our research now on this idea of generating 3D models. And also, yeah, if some people are interested in talking about that, we're also collaborating with Ivy. Hopefully, yeah, we are integrating some of the things he found already. So yeah, it's an interesting space because there's just so much new stuff happening each month. Yeah, and
so cool. Yeah, I'd love to see 3D artists get involved in that space also, of like what they think about all of this, and how it could implement maybe a new workflow for them as well.
Yeah, we're actually investigating that with some kind of partners.
Nice. Because I think that's the other thing about AI art, is that there's this other side of it where people are really scared of it replacing jobs or like replacing roles and things like that. But I don't see it that way. I think when there are emerging technologies, this is also why it's important to make sure that like the creatives who are like, working with these methods and approaches like 3D art and 3D artists, to be part of that dialogue and to play with the technologies and feedback, and like how does that enhance their practice. And I don't see these things as replacing. There's nothing that will replace like the craftsmanship of an artist's own skill set. I'm just going to quickly answer. There's a question that came in the chat. Pierre, I will message you directly. If you can message me either on Instagram or Twitter, I can share some musical AI resources. There's some open source stuff that I've used. There's also 2 process documents I have on my website, which I'll just put in here. I have some free like AI generated audio samples using DDSP autoencoder model, which has been really fun to experiment. And yeah, I think we are at the end of the workshop. I'm just being mindful of time. If anyone has questions, or I don't know, shall we end it now, and continue in the metaverse of whichever metaverse people want to choose to engage with us. I'm going to stop screen share.
I think that sounds good. Engage in the metaverses.
Yeah, thanks guys.